I wanted to touch a little bit on some clothing considerations when it comes to cold weather, and especially cold weather where there's a possibility of it being wet. 2 weeks ago when I went out camping, the weather was a lot warmer. There was a little bit of a chance of some precipitation, but I wasn't all that concerned about getting wet and cold. So the pants I was wearing were kind of a cotton canvas type pants. This weekend, because I knew that there was a possibility of some snow and some rain and sleet and such, and the fact that the temperatures were going to be kind of that borderline area where things can the snow can melt and get really wet, I decided to make sure to wear wool pants out here. I thought I'd put these things away for the warm weather season, but I had to drag them back out of the closet. I really like wool pants because if they get wet, they can dry out more easily, and they can also provide some warmth while they're wet. If you're wearing a pair of cotton pants, whether they're kind of like a canvasy type material or denim, like a pair of blue jeans, if those get wet and it's really cold, you're going to be really miserable. They're going to chill you, and it's going to take them forever to dry out. Wool pants, on the other hand, are great. And in my opinion, they beat fancy like nylon and fabrics like that, because if you're next to the fire and some sparks land on your wool pants, they're not going to burn holes right through them or melt holes right through them like they will like a nylon or polyester or something like that. I also have a wool shirt on for the same type of reasons, essentially. It provides warmth. If it gets wet, it'll dry out more easily, and it can provide some warmth if it is wet. I mean, no, it's not completely magic. It's not going to keep you toasty warm when it's wet, but it does provide some warmth. And that's a big difference between cotton. Cotton, on the other hand, will actively chill you when it's wet. The fibers in wool are such that they, even when they're wet, they don't like clump up all together and lose all their insulative power. And there's also this chemical reaction thing that goes on when wool gets wet, and it actually does give off a teeny little bit of heat. I don't think that probably really comes into play when you're wearing it. I don't think you're probably going to notice that tiny bit of heat that it actually is giving off, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, cotton, on the other hand, you're actually better off naked out in the cold weather than you are wearing wet cotton. Cotton will absolutely chill you and give you hypothermia if it's wet, no doubt about it. And I'm not saying that I am not wearing any cotton at all. I do have this plaid shirt is made out of cotton. And I was a little bit concerned when the snow was coming down last night. I was wearing this under that German army parka. I was a little bit concerned that this was starting to get a little bit too wet and get to the point where I was going to have to take it off and put this wool shirt on. So I'm not going to say you're going to die if you're wearing some cotton. I wear some cotton sometimes. It's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, overall you'd be better off if you had nothing on but synthetics and wool or something. But, you know, a cotton layer here or there isn't that big a deal. Under these wool pants, I have a synthetic base layer. You know, some long underwear are made out of a bunch of cotton. I have some pairs like that. They're like roughly half cotton, half polyester. I made sure not to wear those because I knew if they got wet, I'd be cold. So everything down here is synthetic or wool. And that's definitely a good way to dress, especially for cool or cold weather conditions where it might be wet. If it's really, really cold to where all the moisture is totally frozen, you don't have to worry as much about being wet. But even in those conditions, wool is great because it provides warmth and sparks won't melt holes right through it. So I am a big fan of wool. I'm also a big fan of synthetics in general. And I do wear cotton stuff. So it depends on the conditions. You just have to be smart. And if you do bring something with you that's cotton, just keep in mind you're going to need a way to deal with the possibility that it might get wet. You might have to take it off and put something else on. So you just have to plan accordingly. Just be smart about things. and you'll stay comfortable and safely warm.